the controversial land reform program initiated by then-President Robert Mugabe to tackle colonial-era land grabs. Land, Agriculture, Water and Rural Resettlement Minister Anchios Masuka was quoted as saying the government has no intention of reversing the land reform program, but it has an obligation to consider its own constitution as well as international treaties and agreements. Indigenous farmers who were dispossessed of their properties during the land reform program would also be given the opportunity to get their land back or to accept compensation. The U.S. has said compensating farmers is one of the requirements for it to lift economic sanctions against Zimbabwe. And 10 foreign missions in Tanzania have called for a free and fair election next month amid concerns by rights groups on increased repression of opposition parties and non-governmental organizations. The missions said security for all contestants and impartiality of institutions in charge of managing the elections will strengthen the legitimacy of the elections. The joint statement was released by missions representing Canada, Norway, Switzerland, Sweden, Belgium, Denmark, Finland, Germany, Ireland, and the Netherlands. Human Rights Watch on Wednesday said opposition party members and critics of the government had been arrested ahead of the polls. It also said some election monitors have been banned by the National Electoral Commission. And Democratic presidential candidate Joe Biden raised more than $364 million in August, reportedly breaking the record for monthly campaign donations, even though his fundraising efforts were largely online because of the coronavirus pandemic. The campaign former vice president and the Democratic National Committee pulled in a total of $364.5 million, of which $205 million were pledged online from small donors. The previous record was set by Barack Obama and the DNC in September 2018, when he raised almost $200 million, according to CBS and New York Times reports. Having prepared his re-election campaign since he arrived in the White House early in 2017, 74-year-old President Donald Trump still has a larger overall war chest, but Biden has been drawing in ever larger sums since winning the Democratic primary in April. And the Trump administration has urged the United States to get ready to distribute a potential COVID-19 vaccine by 1st of November, 2 days before the presidential election. Dallas-based wholesaler McKesson Corp has a deal with the federal government and will be requesting permits to set up distribution centers when a vaccine becomes available. Redfield asked states to consider waiving requirements that would prevent these facilities from becoming fully operational by November 1st, 2020. And an unarmed black man died in New York State after he was hooded by police and held face down to the road for 2 minutes, body camera footage shows. Daniel Prude, 41, who had mental health issues, was restrained in March by police who put a speech hood, a device used to stop detainees spitting or biting, on his head. He later died, but his story has only now been made public. His death was 2 months before the killing of George Floyd. Floyd died after a white policeman knelt on his neck for nearly 8 minutes in Minnesota. Anti-racism protests broke out in the U.S. and globally in the wake of his killing. Tension has risen again in the U.S. in recent weeks after black man Jacob Blake was shot 7 times in the back during an arrest in Kenosha, Wisconsin on the 23rd of August, sparking violent protests in the city. And more than 350 migrants have been allowed to leave a rescue ship in the Mediterranean Sea. Rescue organization Sea-Watch said the group was transferred to a quarantine vessel off Sicily's coast. The migrants include 150 people rescued from Louis Mitchell, a 31-meter boat funded by British artist Banksy. The Sea-Watch 4 ship arrived in Palermo on Wednesday, 11 days after it took on the first migrants. Dozens of people later joined from the Louis Mitchell after an Italian Coast Guard evacuated 49 of the most vulnerable from the Bansky's ship. And the arrest of a woman in Australia for promoting an anti-lockdown protest online has drawn criticism after video of the incident went viral. Footage shows officers handcuffing pregnant woman Zoli Boha, 28, in her home in Victoria on Wednesday in front of her partner and children. She starts crying during the arrest. Authorities have defended the officers, saying they acted appropriately. Victoria has been in lockdown since July to curb a coronavirus outbreak that has fueled Australia's second wave. Authorities have imposed stay-at-home rules and a curfew in Melbourne, the state capital. The lockdown has closed many businesses and banned gatherings around the state. And that's KFM's news around the world. But before we go, a quick recap of the headlines. Zimbabwe to return 37 farms to foreigners. Joe Biden's campaign raises $364 million in August, beats Obama's record. Australian anti-lockdown suspects arrest draws controversy. Do remember that the continued unity of Nigeria is a collective responsibility. Be sure to play your part. Coronavirus is real. Wash your hands regularly with soap under running water. Use your face mask while in public to stay safe. KFM's news around the world was produced by Nusaka Uwadiai. I am Omoyo Ogbede saying thanks for listening.